The ocean had a way of keeping its secrets silent, heavy, eternal. At 250 feet below the surface, even the light of the sun faded into a dull gray haze. Down there, sound didn't travel the same. Every breath echoed through a diver's helmet like a distant heartbeat. Jake Miller and Ben Alvarez, veteran salvage divers, had seen their share of shipwreck. They'd recovered sunken freighters, research vessels, even crashed aircraft. But nothing prepared them for what their sonar picked up that morning. A massive dome-shaped anomaly deep within an uncharted trench off the Pacific coast. "Looks like concrete," Jake said, squinting at the screen inside the submersible. "But there's no record of anything built here." Ben zoomed in, frowning. "It's not natural. Whatever that is, someone put it here." The shape was enormous, nearly 60 feet across. Embedded halfway into the canyon wall, the sonar scan revealed dense walls, perfectly round, smooth as if engineered. But there were no structures anywhere near this sector. No pipelines, no installations, nothing. They marked the coordinates and returned 2 days later with their diving rig, a reinforced descent platform equipped with hydraulic drills and underwater floodlights. The current was strong, the pressure immense, but the water was unnervingly still near the structure, as if the ocean itself was holding its breath. As their light swept over the surface, the concrete shimmered faintly with algae and corrosion. It looked ancient, but beneath the decay, it was unmistakably man-made. Ben brushed his gloved hand along the curved wall. "It's sealed tight," he said, "but there's something beneath it. I can feel vibration." Jake tapped his helmet communicator. "We'll drill near the top. If it's hollow, we'll know fast." The drill bit tore through layers of silt and hardened cement, grinding slowly until it hit a metal plate. Then, with a sharp hiss, a stream of bubbles erupted from the hole. The men froze. "That's not rock pressure," Jake muttered. "It's air." But seconds later, a torrent of icy water shot outward, clouding their visibility. Whatever was inside wasn't empty anymore. It had flooded, and recently enough that compressed pockets of gas still lingered. Once the flow stabilized, they widened the breach, their lights cutting through the blackness below. A hollow void emerged beneath them, vast and echoing. The inside wasn't uniform concrete, it was something else entirely. They secured a tether and descended cautiously through the opening. For a few seconds, nothing moved except particles of silt swirling in the lamplight. Then Jake's beam landed on metal curved, rusted, massive. "Ben, that's a hull," he whispered. The outline was unmistakable, a submarine, resting silently inside the dome like a corpse in a tomb. The two men circled it slowly, their floodlights scanning the deck. Military markings barely visible under layers of corrosion glinted faintly in the dark. The sub's design was old, likely mid-20th century, but the dome enclosing it looked far newer. Ben's voice crackled through the radio. "This isn't a wreck. It's been hidden." Nearby, they spotted a pile of equipment crates, sealed tight but marked with faded white stencils, U.S. Navy property. The weight of realization hit them both at once. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal this, to build an entire concrete vault around it. Jake swam closer to the submarine's main hatch. It was jammed, twisted by pressure, but still intact. He signaled for the hydraulic spreader, locking it onto the hatch wheel. The tool hissed, forcing the metal apart inch by inch until the corroded seal cracked open with a deep groan that reverberated through the chamber. Jake peered inside and froze. His voice came out strained through the comms. "Ben, get the camera on, now." The beam of his light pierced through the dark interior, landing on a row of control panels and something else. Inside the cockpit, still strapped into a rusted chair, sat a single human form, skeletal, helmet intact, hand gripping the edge of the console. Ben exhaled sharply. "Jesus!" They moved closer, scanning the compartment. The readings from their radiation meter began to spike. Then, in the corner of the frame, Jake's light caught something cylindrical, embedded in the torpedo tube, bright metal, perfectly preserved. It wasn't a torpedo, and whatever it was still active. Jake's heart pounded against his suit. "Ben, back up, now!" The radiation sensor was clicking faster, the sound sharp and frantic in his earpiece. They both knew what it meant. Inside the torpedo bay, half buried in sediment, was a nuclear warhead, its casing scarred but intact. Faded warning symbols were still visible under the grime. Jake steadied his breathing. "It's live," he whispered. "My God, it's still armed." They immediately marked the coordinates and began their ascent, dragging the tether line with shaking hand. The higher they rose, the heavier the silence became, as though the ocean itself was absorbing the secret they had just uncovered. Breaking the surface, Jake tore off his helmet and gasped. "We found a sub. U.S. markings. There's a live nuke down there." The crew stared in disbelief, but when the Geiger counter readings came through, there was no doubt. Within minutes, the call was made to the U.S. Navy. The ocean around them was cleared, and within 12 hours, a classified naval recovery vessel arrived. The entire area was sealed off under military authority. Jake and Ben were ordered to turn over their dive logs, camera footage, and sonar scans. The Navy divers went down under tight protocol, equipped with robotic arms and radiation shields. Days passed before any official report reached them. When it did, it came from a stern-faced officer whose words sounded rehearsed. "The vessel you discovered was a prototype U.S. Navy submarine decommissioned and lost in the late 1960s. Classified Cold War technology, you were never here. You never saw it. But whispers spread among the civilian crew. Someone in logistics leaked fragments of the debrief enough to piece together a darker truth. The submarine hadn't been lost by accident. It had been sealed deliberately. Archival documents later uncovered by investigative journalists revealed that the sub, codenamed Project Cyclone, was part of an experimental deep-sea nuclear platform designed to monitor Soviet movement under the ice. The reactor on board had malfunctioned during testing, triggering a containment breach. The radiation spike was so severe that the Navy ordered an immediate evacuation and sealed the vessel inside a concrete dome, abandoning it to the depths rather than risk recovery. The men inside were never mentioned in the report. Officially, they didn't exist. Jake couldn't sleep after that. The image of the skeleton gripping the console haunted him not because of death, but because of how deliberate it looked, as though the man had stayed at his post until the very end. Weeks later, he received a plain envelope in his mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single black and white photo of the submarine dome, taken from above with a handwritten note on the back. They knew. We were told to leave it. It's still leaking. Soon after, seismic activity was recorded near the same trench. Small tremors, nothing catastrophic yet, but experts warned that if the dome structure failed, the release of radioactive material could contaminate hundreds of miles of ocean. The report was buried again under layers of classified documentation. Official statements called the anomaly geothermal instability. Jake and Ben never dove together again. Ben moved inland, far from the coast. Jake stayed near the water, unable to let go. Sometimes at night, he'd scan sonar frequencies on an old handheld device, half expecting to hear that same strange signal, a low, rhythmic hum echoing from the depths, as if something still stirred beneath the dome. One evening, months later, a faint reading appeared on his screen, the same coordinates, same location. The dome's seismic sensors were still active, sending out a pulse every 30 seconds. A heartbeat. Jake stared at the ocean horizon, remembering the silence of that black chamber. The way the light faded against the concrete walls, the human remains, the untouched warhead. He whispered to himself, they buried it to forget. But the sea never forgets. Then he turned off the sonar, walked away from the shore, and never spoke of it again.